Why, hello, good morning, and welcome to Bill Riccardi's weekly Patreon update. I, of course, am Bill Riccardi, a creator and purveyor of fantasy novels. What's on the docket this week? Only two things. The first one is the second book in the Blackstaff Siblings trilogy and a title announcement. The second part is the writing activities that I'll be undertaking this weekend and some, progress reports. Let's start at the start. The second book of the Blackstaff Siblings trilogy is coming right along. I went well over my quota, my daily quota of words. I'm deep into the re-editing process as we go, because that's the way I work. And I am quite ready to announce the title of the book, and that is A Falconer's Guide to Dying. Now, you may remember that the first book was called A Princess of Last Resort, and that revolved around Sarah, and Sarah's plight after her homeland got invaded, and the Northern Elven Council was cut off, and the most distant heir, and yet the top heir that they could find was her. So the Southern Elves contact her, via her mage school and via some of her old masters and what have you, and they say, hey, we need you. You're actually the leader of the Northern Elves. And it's about the way she dealt with that and her plight and her advancement as a mage and some of the hard decisions that she had to make. Particularly a very hard decision she had to make about her brother Granite. Leaving Granite in dire straits, which is where we pick up the second book. But you might remember at the end of the first book, we saw it from the perspective of a falcon. And for those of you who haven't read it, I won't go into too much detail. But the falcon's name is Belinda, also known as Little Belle. And the last chapter is written from her eyes. Pick up with the second book, A Falconer's Guide to Dying. And we know that Belinda's master is basically leaving Panos. He's passing away. But he has to heir his falcon, his most precious possession, his best friend, and one of the most advanced magical creations that he could ever conceive. And he has to heir that falcon to someone. And this story is about the mental notes, the mental diary that he leaves in Belinda's mind to whoever happens to, become her new master. And this story follows not Sarah, although we go back to the party, we cut back and forth in point of view between the main bulk of the party and Granite, who, as we know, has been isolated from the rest of the party. And there's some rather emotional bits about Granite and the ordeals that he goes through, by himself, except he has an unexpected visitor and an unexpected ally in the guise of Belinda. So that is why he's able to learn from the Falconer's mistakes. And this is why it's called A Falconer's Guide to Dying. If it sounds melancholy, absolutely. It's a little bit melancholy for the first half of the book. But we start to get triumphant towards the end, and I'm happy to say I'm writing some of the best action stuff right now, as we approach the climax of Granite's portion. I've actually finished writing the party's portion, and now we're just going to be finishing on Granite's point of view and what happens to Granite. So that's it. That's what's going on there. I'm not going to spoil too much. A Falconer's Guide to Dying might sound like a macabre title, but in the same way that a title can reflect more than one thing, that's what's happened here. The Guide to Dying is about how you live your life in the best way in order to avoid regret. And that is kind of what this old man who has never met Granite in person is trying to pass on to an apprentice who he never would have expected to have. And these are all pre-recorded, so it's not like this message can be tailored to him. So Granite has to take away from it what he can. And yeah, the story is pretty interesting because you're writing it. You're writing a mentorship between someone who has to try to think of everything ahead of time and who hasn't, possibly envisioned someone like Granite becoming the owner of Belinda, and the reactions of someone like Granite who is a ranger and stoic and very much duty bound. And there's this balance, there's this play between these two characters who will never ever meet. So that was very interesting to write. Yeah, that's where we are with the progress on that. It's gonna be a couple weeks until the first beta, which is the closed beta for my my personal beta readers who are pros at this by now, and then a couple more weeks after that is the open beta, which I throw it open to everyone in the fan club who has been loyal, and of course I throw it open to all of my patrons. Anyone who wants on board, just let me know. We'll get you on board. Yeah, that's about it for that. Now, this weekend I will be doing a little extra writing. Normally I try not to, but I have a couple of ideas insofar as where I'm going with Mind of a Witness and where I'll possibly be going with my other novella project, which is My Foxy Boyfriend. Well, that's the title in progress. That may change. Both of which are under consideration with different firms. My Foxy Boyfriend is under consideration with an old friend of mine, actually had a publishing company. I didn't know about it, so I contacted her via a comic book forum of all things. And we'll be talking about that ongoing. But I have some tweaks, to make to the world and the storyline there. So I'll be doing some work there. And of course, Mind of a Witness is under consideration by Unbound. It's still in very early stages, so let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that they like the concept. I'll be doing some work on that as well. The outline to move it into full novel territory. That's it for me this weekend. Sorry for the long update. I know it was only 2 items, but that took quite a while. These title announcements have to come with some amount of exposition to make any sense. So there you go, but no major spoilers there. Thanks, everyone. It's overcast here in Belfast. It's gonna rain. So everyone who is in the area, wear your nice dry coats. And everyone everywhere else, have a nice, safe weekend. Cheers.